Księga Smaków pani profesor Iżdy-Domskiej. To wcale nie wymagało wielkiego charakteru. Nasza odmowa, niezgoda i upór. Mieliśmy odrobinę koniecznej odwagi, lecz w gruncie rzeczy była to sprawa smaku. Tak smaku, w którym są włókna duszy i chrząstki sumienia. Kto wie, gdyby nas lepiej i piękniej kuszono, słano kobiety różowe, płaskie jak opłatek lub fantastyczne twory z obrazów Hieronima Boscha, lecz piekło w tym czasie było byle jaki. Mokry dół, zaułek morderców, barak nazwany Pałacem Sprawiedliwości. Samogonny Mefisto w leninowskiej kurtce posyłał w teren wnuczęta Aurory, chłopców o twarzach ziemniaczanych, bardzo brzydkie dziewczyny o czerwonych rękach. Zaiste ich retoryka była aż nazbyt parciana. Marek Tuliusz obracał się w grobie. Łańcuchy tautologii, parę pojęć jak cepy, dialektyka oprawców, żadnej dystynkcji w rozumowaniu, składnia pozbawiona urody koniunktywu. Tak więc estetyka może być pomocna w życiu, nie należy zaniedbywać nauki o pięknie. Zanim zgłosimy akces, trzeba pilnie badać kształt architektury, rytm bębnów i piszczałek, kolory oficjalne, nikczemny rytuał pogrzebów. Nasze oczy i uszy odmówiły posłuchu, książęta naszych zmysłów wybrały dumne wygnanie. To wcale nie wymagało wielkiego charakteru. Mieliśmy odrobinę niezbędnej odwagi, lecz w gruncie rzeczy była to sprawa smaku. Tak smaku, który każe wyjść, skrzywić się, wycedzić szyderstwo, choćby za to miał spaść bezcenny kapitel ciała, głowa.
That was The Power of Taste by Zbigniew Herbert, read at a meeting at Poznań University in 1984. And this recording, along with a selection of poems by Zbigniew Herbert, was published by A5 Publishing House. My name is Dariusz Bugalski, and it's my honor to welcome you at this award ceremony for the International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Prize 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you at Teatr Polski in Warsaw as a very hospitable setting as usual, and I want to welcome those of you who are watching elsewhere, who are watching the live stream on the Herbert Foundation website and culture.pl. Wherever we are here together to enjoy poetry and to celebrate poets. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to extend a very warm welcome to Katarzyna Herbert. And now I want to invite Maria Dzieduszycka, the president of the Zbigniew Herbert Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we're meeting in an exceptional year. The Polish Sejm, the Polish Parliament, has, by a resolution, made 2018 the Zbigniew Herbert year. The resolution expresses recognition for the great achievements of the artists and the significance of his work. We need to appreciate such gestures of appreciation for a poet, especially by a Polish parliament that voted unanimously. But as Madam Katarzyna Herbert, the founder of our foundation, says, Herbert should be read, first of all, and listened to, as we listened to him just now. We believe that the award, the International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Prize, which our foundation has been awarding for 6 years now, encourages and inspires people to read poetry by Herbert and by the wonderful prize winners of the Herbert Prize. We believe that this inspiration is important, that it resonates not just in Poland but around the world. The Herbert Prize is awarded thanks to the support of many private individuals and institutions, and we're grateful to all of them. I would particularly like to thank the strategic partner of this year's prize, the PZU Foundation. I want to thank the Adam Mickiewicz Institute and especially thank its director, Krzysztof Oleński, and thank the whole team at culture.pl, thanks to whom this ceremony is being streamed in real time around the world. The Embassy of Ireland is also a partner at this year's event, and I suppose you know why. I want to extend a very warm welcome to His Excellency Ambassador Gerald Keon and his staff. Your Excellency, welcome, Ambassador, and thank you for your support. I would cordially like to thank the management and the team at Teatr Polski. We send our best regards to Director Andrzej Seweryn, who is rehearsing for a new production. We want to thank Traple Konarski Podrecki law firm for their legal support. I want to thank the National Library for their cooperation, and I want to thank Polish Radio, our media partner. Ladies and gentlemen, in the inscription, Herbert wrote, "There's a flame in me that thinks," and I hope that tonight will light that flame in all of us. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria Dzieduszycka. And now Ryszard Krynicki, a poet, winner of the Zbigniew Herbert Prize 3 years ago, has selected 3 poems by Herbert and will now read them. Good evening. I will read 3 poems by Zbigniew Herbert, one of which is very well known, and for me personally it's one of his most important poems, but I believe one of the most important poems of the 20th century, and 2 lesser known poems that I found in manuscript and I published in Zbigniew Herbert's Scattered Poems.
Tyle książek, słowników, opasłe encyklopedie, ale nie ma kto poradzić. Zbadano słońce, księżyc, gwiazdy, zgubiono mnie. Moja dusza odmawia pociechy wiedzy. Wędruje tedy nocą po drogach ojców. I oto miasteczko Bracław wśród czarnych słoneczników. To miejsce, które opuściliśmy, to miejsce, które krzyczy. Jest szabas. Jak zawsze w szabas ukazuje się nowe niebo. Szukam cię, rabi. Nie ma go tutaj, mówią Hasydzi. Jest w świecie Szaolu. Miał piękną śmierć, mówią Hasydzi. Bardzo piękną. Tak jakby przeszedł z jednego kąta do drugiego kąta. Cały czarny. W ręku miał torę płonącą. Szukam cię, rabi, za którym firmamentem ukryłeś mądre ucho. Boli mnie serce, rabi, mam kłopoty. Może by mi poradził rabi Nachman, ale jak mam go znaleźć wśród tylu popiołów? Dekoracje snu. Zawsze miasta, ani śladu morza, ani lasu, zielonej polany, pustyni, tylko domy i skwery, zaułki i przedmieścia. Nieznośna mieszanina miast. Siena, przez którą przebiega ulica Piotrkowska. Londyn zmieszany z Rzymem. Nagle bez ostrzeżenia urywa się Tottenham Road i rozpoczyna się Via Dandolo, prowadząca pod górę. Zawsze hybrydy, a przecież latami torturowałem pamięć i ćwiczyłem oko, tak że mogę z pamięci rysować widziane przed laty kościoły, wieże i weduty miast. Być może sen mój cierpliwie wypomina moje zdrady, ucieczki, rwanie więzów, niestałość uczuć. Albo po prostu mówi, że jestem wygnańcem, któremu odmówiony został dom w dolinie, zegar na wieży, wieczny czas, wspaniała ludzka przestrzeń, wieczny czas. Z nienapisanej teorii snów, pamięci Jeana Amery. Oprawcy śpią spokojnie, sny mają różowe, poczciwi ludobójcy, którym już wybaczyła krótka ludzka pamięć, obcy i plemieńcy. Łagodny wiatr obraca kartki rodzinnych albumów, okna domu otwarte na sierpień, cień jabłoni w kwiatach, pod którą się zgromadził zacny ród. Bryczka dziadka, wyprawa do kościoła, pierwsza komunia, pierwszy uścisk matki, ognisko na polanie i niebo gwiaździste, bez znaków i tajemnic, bez apokalipsy. Więc śpią spokojnie, sny mają pożywne, pełne jadła, napojów, tłustych ciał kobiecych, z którymi gry miłosne w gąszczach zagajników. A na tym wszystkim płynie głos niezapomniany, głos czysty jak źródło, niewinny jak echo o chłopcu, który spotkał różę na łące pośród wrzosów. Nie budzi widm ani koszmarów, dzwon pamięci powtarza wielkie odpuszczenie. Budzą się wcześnie rano, pełni woli mocy, starannie golą kupieckie policzki, resztę włosów układają jak wieniec laurowy pod wodą zapomnienia, które zmywa wszystko. Namydlają swe ciało mydłem marki Macbeth. Dlaczego sen, schronienie wszystkich ludzi, odmawia swojej łaski ofiarom przemocy? Dlaczego w nocy krwawią wśród czystej pościeli i wchodzą w swoje łóżka jak do sali tortur, jak do celi śmierci, jak w cień szubienicy? Przecież i oni mieli matkę i widzieli las, polanę, niebo, jabłoń w kwiatach, róże. Kto wygnał to wszystko z zakamarków duszy, oni także przeżyli chwilę szczęścia. Więc dlaczego ich wycie budzi w nocy niewinnych domowników i zrywają się raz jeszcze do szalonej ucieczki, tłukąc głową o ścianę, a potem już nie śpią, wpatrzeni tempo w zegar, który niczego nie zmieni. Dzwon pamięci powtarza wielkie przerażenie. Dzwon pamięci bije niezmiennie na trwogę. Zaiste ciężko wyznać, oprawcy odnieśli zwycięstwo. Ofiary na całą wieczność życia są już pokonane. Więc muszą sami ułożyć się z tą karą bez winy, z blizną wstydu, odciskiem palców na policzku, podłą wolą przeżycia, pokusą wybaczenia, a opowieść o piekle budzi już słuszny niesmak. Nie ma już teraz miejsca, gdzieby zanieść skargę. Niepojęte wyroki feruje Trybunał Snów. Dziękuję.
Ryszard Czernicki read 3 poems by Zbigniew Herbert. Thank you very much. And now the composition of the jury of the International Herbert Literary Prize, Secretary Andrzej Franaszek and members Yuri Andruchowicz, Edward Hirsch, Michael Kruger, Mercedes Monmani and Tomasz Różycki, whom I would now like to invite up on stage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to announce on behalf of the entire jury that the winner of the International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Prize for 2018 is the Irish poet Noah O'Neill. Noah O'Neill once said, quoting another Irish poet, that she writes poems and she knows the words to all the Irish songs because she cannot sing herself. She was talking about her uncle, a storyteller, who had an incredible facility to express himself, to speak in Irish and in English. He was a wonderful speaker and a patron of pubs where he sang. She says he was a true poet, even though he never wrote a line of verse. Noah O'Neill writes poems in Gaelic, the Irish language. It is a matter of choice, though she was born in England, and when she first came to Ireland, she knew barely the words of a few songs, not understanding what they meant. She writes in Gaelic in spite of everything, in spite of the fact that in Ireland, emancipation from patriarchal culture, or the rural tradition, or the almighty and oppressive power of the Catholic Church was something. She saw hope in English. English was the language of modernity, the language of rock and roll and the media. And O'Neill is part of a generation that wanted sex and drugs and rock and roll. And yet, O'Neill writes in Gaelic, and in her poems we'll find evocations, references to the traditional theme of Irish poetry, Celtic mythology, and Catholic religion, though conservatives might not be pleased. One of her protagonists, Fionnuala, or Nuala for short, a figure from the legend of the children of Lear, who are turned into swans for 900 years by a curse, says, and I quote the English translation, "Although our human voice remains to enchant the hearers, our mind, our sense, our sweet music, and even our Gaelic tongue remains. What would I not give to be free from the curse?" Another protagonist character in her poems, taken from Celtic mythology, is the mermaid's daughter brushing her teeth in the bathroom with a thick brush, thinking how to express it properly to the psychiatrist, how to talk about water, using vocabulary that's not compatible. Another girl, taken from a song about the land under the waves, is employed by the richest businessman in all of Ireland, the Dark Master, to and Paul Muldoon, translation, "I've gone and hired myself out. Not that he meddled with or molested me, for to tell you the truth, our relationship was always more akin to walking out or going steady." Noah O'Neill writes Gaelic just as well as her English-speaking colleagues write in English. She's a wonderful contemporary poet, and the curse of Gaelic is no obstacle. Another poem begins as follows: "I place my hope on the water in this little boat of the language, the way a body might put an infant in a basket, then set the whole thing down by the edge of a river." Hope is placed in language, a boat that might save it. According to Josephus Flavius, the Jews in Egyptian slavery had almost lost all hope of returning to their homeland, and then one of the priests told Pharaoh that the signs foretold that there was a child who would destroy the power of Egypt. Pharaoh ordered the murder of all newlyborns. Miriam, who had just had a baby, placed it in a basket to save it. We know the rest of the story. In O'Neill's poem, hope is like a baby. language is a boat, a crib, protection, and a vehicle, but it's not hope. It's just a vehicle, an instrument, thanks to which hope can survive. Gaelic, the language of Ireland, is a minority language. It is a small language that in its history had the misfortune of having an enormous neighbor, this giant of the English language. The Irish state is doing a lot to reanimate the language, but since the state has to intervene, that means things aren't going very well, that things aren't as good as they should be. Besides, we know that often heads of state can harm language more than help it. Everyday users of Gaelic number about 80,000. It is used sporadically, occasionally, by about 700,000 people, I beg your pardon. The other residents in Ireland speak English. So it seems that barely 1% of the population speaks the native language, which is more or less equal to the number of people who read poetry. I think that belonging to a minority that upholds what seems to be a lost cause would be something that Zbigniew Herbert would appreciate. But unlike the Irish tongue, Irish poetry is one of the best known, best appreciated, and best recognized poetry in the world. The paradox is that most of its poets write English. We know Nuala Ní Dhomhall's poetry largely thanks to her wonderful English translators, Irish poets. She was translated by Seamus Heaney, Paul Muldoon, Derek Mahone, Michael Longley, Matt McGeechan, and Sharon Carson. The poems I quoted in Polish were beautifully translated by Jerzy Jarniewicz, who translated them according to the English translation. They were translated from the Gaelic into English by Paul Muldoon, whom the critics have called a perfect translator of her poems. So it's a double translation. We know where it leads. It can lead to Chinese whispers. But Robert Frost, who was once asked the question which has no answer, what is poetry, said, poetry is what is lost in translation. But to all those who do not know, for all those who do not know Gaelic, translation is all that they have. And since Nuala's poems read in Polish affect us so much, even though they changed language twice along the way, maybe poetry is something more. Despite all that is lost, for all that is lost, there is something that survived, that we've gained thanks to translators. And I think that you will be able to hear that shortly, so that the prayer of the traveler, Mr. Cogito, is listened, heard. Let me understand other people, other languages, other sufferings. Is it not the case that language is alive when poetry is written in it? Not poetry that upholds the traditional values, national, religious, folk poetry, or linguistic or metaphysical poetry, but above all, good poetry. Poetry that can stand up for itself in any language and in any translation, like the poetry of Ní Dhomhall. It's not lost in translation. It can be heard and seen. And we all belong to the 1% who speak a common language. Because poetry, as Jarosław Mikołajewski said last year at the awards ceremony, is a language of community. Is there a hope that Nuala Ní Dhomhall will save the Gaelic language? As long as people listen to and read poetry, yes, there is. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Tomasz Różycki. The prize is a statue designed by Staroszyk and Rycerski Architekci. The winner of the Zbigniew Herbert Literary Prize for 2018 will receive a check for $50,000 American dollars, and the award has been funded by the PZU Foundation, the strategic partner of this year's awards ceremony. And now let's ask Katarzyna Herbert and Dr. Grażyna Melanowicz, a member of the board of the PZU Foundation, the strategic partner of the International Herbert Literary Prize, to award the prize and say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, the PZU Foundation has once again supported the Zbigniew Herbert Foundation because an international literary prize, the Herbert Prize, is an exceptional honor. I have no doubt that the poetry of Zbigniew Herbert is part of world literature, not just Polish literature, and Zbigniew Herbert is the greatest Polish writer with a great moral and literary authority. He left behind a legacy, the universal message of fidelity to ideals, truth, and courage, artistic courage. On behalf of the PZU Foundation and my own, it is my pleasure and my honor to extend my sincere congratulations to the winner of this year's prize. Good evening and welcome. I'm very happy that this year's award goes to Nula, and I think it's something Zbigniew Herbert would have liked very much because he liked and admired Ireland and its culture and its poetry, Irish poetry. So thank you very much. I'm very happy.
Gratulacje.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. And now a few words.
Thank you so much for this wonderful evening. I was a late reader. We lived in England, where they used the phonics system, and I was just about reading at the age of 5 when I was farmed out to West Kerry, where there was the language change to Irish and also much more old-fashioned teaching methods. And I was at least 9 before I began to read. There were no children's books in the house, only medical books like The Lancet. So I joined the local library, where I borrowed 2 annuals of comics, which were just suitable for my level, but where to read them? The house was so cold. So I climbed into the hot press and, of course, fell asleep. Hours later, I awoke to the hue and cry of the whole household looking for me. I could never remember where I had left the books. For this, I was banned from the library by the formidable librarian. So no more library books. In desperation, I got down a series of tomes from a top shelf left over from my grandfather. They were wonderful. The Teutonic myths and legends, the Celtic ones, Bláthnaid, the woman made from flowers, the Slavic ones, Perun and Horse and Strubog, the Indian myths and legends, the Japanese ones. I soaked it all up like a sponge. I was in my element. I can safely say that the only aesthetic experience to which I was exposed in my youth were the old Irish modal a cappella songs called Sean Nos that my father sung. I learned them mostly in the car during our frequent journeys home. In those days, there was a good 3.5-hour journey by car, and my father sang to stop us small children from getting car sick as much as any other reason. His repertoire was the great classical songs of Munster, Áráin Mhóra na Moon, which include the most extraordinary lines of beauty, of poetry imaginable, wedded to melodic lines of great beauty. Now, I'm going to try and sing. Why I'm a poet is because I know all the words and I know all the airs, but I don't have a good voice. So anyway. Fossen hu gan bo gan bund gan a heart of spray a cuiten tail let hold of winter the more let they she mo galardo gan mestu a chin hart mo lev ik ashel moon scan the lab foon ach an clár Bugdale. I love songs like that. I'm not a singer. I love the songs like that, especially there's a twiddly bit, I call it. It's a cuidan tail little the winter. Now, because it breaks all the laws of prosody. You know, it shouldn't happen. Yet it does happen, and the musical air makes room for it. I could spend, and have spent, long hours just mulling over that particular line. I was lucky to grow up amongst a group of speakers who were not only Cainteoirí Dúchais, native speakers, but were also amongst the even rarer category of Cainteoirí Maithe, good speakers. This is the type of speaker for whom every single utterance is as elegant in its structure as in its meaning. They compose in the sequence of the musical phrase, not in the sequence of the metronome, to borrow Pound's famous phrase. An example. I remember going up to my Aunt May's house one day in winter after I had a very bad night without a wink of sleep because of the howling wind all night. My aunt explains to me that I have bad dúchas. Now, dúchas is a word that is almost impossible to translate, but for now, let us call it genetic propensity. The story goes that the fear of wind was so strong in the family that one of the brothers way back, when he heard the wind rising, used to take his blanket and go out to the haggard and sleep in the stable under the cart on the principle that if the roof fell, the cart would save him. Just as we were in the middle of this discussion, her husband pipes up, "Nach letatán shams nach vil tú aboard linge a lár na Maramore." Aren't you lucky that you are not aboard a ship in the middle of the great ocean? He could have made a much simpler and different sentence of it, but it was the euphony of the matter that was important to him. Another day I was sitting on a ditch, helping to bag potatoes with our neighbour, Mike Long, and we were looking out over Ventry Strand and the bay when he said he remembered the whole British Atlantic fleet coming into the bay in 1912. He and some friends of his went out to the ships in their vogues or currachs with strops of mackerel and were rewarded with cigarettes in exchange. He knew the names of all the great dreadnoughts, the Invincible, the Indefatigable, the Defence. Then he says, "Bí ordas san lúngan go bheith war siúl ón gceanna siamach stachar an dráig gan do chasa a lucha." You could walk into the strand from the farthest ship out without wetting your feet. I was studying Irish at college at the time and immediately recognized the line as straight out of the late medieval Middle Irish text, the Battle of Ventry. Now, these men were small farmers and had at most a few years' schooling, sometimes for only a few months a year. But that didn't mean that they were unintelligent or not diligently interested in the language. They mostly frequented a pub whose host had 3 Irish dictionaries under the counter to help him referee amidst literary arguments about the use or misuse of words. As an adult, I was often corrected if I mispronounced a word or used it somehow out of context. A little bit of literary history now. My greatest literary heroes of all are the ancient monks who, having got the gift of literacy from the church through Latin, had the self-confidence and genuine bumptiousness to start writing Irish in it, as early as the period from 500 AD onwards. In a recent article, I read that one of the most striking aspects of the encounter of Latin and the vernacular is that the Gaelic literature that came into being was not a minor literature, but one widely regarded as outstanding by comparison with other vernacular literatures of the time. Native literary tradition would not be to the fore in the same way again until the turn of the 20th century, and then mostly in English. Also striking is how early in the medieval period Ireland produced poetry and narrative literature of an exceptional quality in the vernacular, while it also developed the vernacular as the medium for highly sophisticated legal, historical, and other genres. A new origin legend of the Irish began to coalesce in the early 7th century, which defined the natio, the nation, in terms of descent from a common ancestor called Meal, and the use of a shared language. I know we can make jokes about the Irish, and you're right to make them, everyone makes them, about we think we are such exceptionalists and we are so special, and we make all these jokes ourselves. But even we can be taken aback by the audacity of the claim made for the Irish language in Ora Kepna Nagus, the primer of the poets, the main part of which has been dated to the very early Old Irish period before 700 AD. According to this, Phineas Farset, who had remained at Nimrod's tower when the peoples of Babel had dispersed, he was given the task of creating a new language out of all those already in existence, and what was best in every language and what was wisest and finest was cut out into Irish. With this enabling fiction, the local Gaelic literati set the Irish language above even the three linguae sacrae, Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. I love the men who did this. They are my first group of literary heroes. The second group to whom I am greatly beholden are the poets and scribes of the 18th century and the early 19th century, up to the time of the famine. They had barely survived the shipwreck of the 17th century, which is really ground zero for us. At that time, we lost half our population, and the ownership of the land went from 10% English and 90% Irish to 90% English and 10% Irish. But these poets and scribes, reduced to penury and even day labouring as they were, they kept alive the old intellectual order by copying out the medieval manuscripts and therefore saving them from oblivion, and not just that, just a few, but many others which would have been lost. The work of these men and occasional women were often read aloud by the fireside in the hovels of Munster, and are partly responsible for the sterling quality of the language that I learned and I heard around me as a child. A language as beautiful and sonorous in Irish as the King James Version of the Bible is in English. And so these are my second great linguistic heroes. But where does the poetry actually come from? If I knew that, I'd bottle it. There's a level of magic involved, something that is the opposite of the triumph of the will, maybe the triumph of the non-will, perhaps. In Irish, it is considered a gift, something that cannot be taught, like, say, a singing voice. In fact, there is a triad in modern Irish, an tíread nach muintir, the three things that cannot be taught: go, féile, agus filiocht, a voice, hospitality, and poetry. It is a dúchas, again that word, which more and more in modern Irish has come to mean something like heritage, but actually really means genetic propensity for. You can have a dúchas for many things. You can have a dúchas for the sea, for horses, for heart attacks. I am supposed to be related to one of the last and greatest of the local poets, Sean O'Dean Leigh, And both my grandfather on my father's side and my uncle on my mother's side were known to be poets, so I have the dúchas. I started writing poetry in boarding school in Limerick. I actually loved the school itself. We had wonderful teachers, mostly nuns, and they were tough enough, but mostly scrupulously fair and devoted, even enlightened teachers. They were on the whole fine intellectual women. Latin, Irish, English, French, geography, chemistry. We got a vigorous training. There was a competition for poetry in the Irish Times, and my music teacher, Mother Veronica Dowling, told me to put a poem in for it. It didn't say which language the poem was supposed to be in, because it was taken for granted that it would be in English. But I, in my total naivety, put in a poem in Irish. It was 1 out of 10 poems chosen by Charles Monteith, the great English poetry editor, who said he wasn't in a position to make a judgment about my poem as he didn't have Irish, but he was assured by his confreres that it was a good poem. So I went off to college where I did languages, specialising from my second year onwards in Irish and English. I was involved in the group around Michael Davitt, and as you have heard, actually I was the only woman in the group, and we published the first broadsheet, then magazine, Into. We gave poetry readings up and down the country, in pubs, in halls. This was way ahead of readings in the English language, which were far and few between, and generally very staid events. This was really rock and roll. But in the meantime, something that happened to me that drove me to a deeper level, to poetry rather than competent versification. When I was 19, I fell in love and wanted to marry a man whom my parents didn't want me to marry. In those days, before Ireland had joined the EEC, now EU, you had to get your parents' permission to marry until the age of 21, even though you could vote at 18. My father sent us a letter giving me permission to marry, but in an attempt to force their hand, I went to live with my boyfriend in Crosshaven, County Cork, where he was studying the old red sandstones of Munster for his degree in sedimentology. On the Sunday, the 10th of August in 1971, my parents, 8 uncles with a stick, burst into the room where we were staying, beat me up, beat him up, kidnapped me, tying me up with electric flex in the back of the car. They brought me to our house in Kerry, where I was regularly stripped and beaten in an attempt to make me renounce my boyfriend. They called him all the names on this earth. He was the head of a drug ring, he consorted with prostitutes, every calumny you can imagine, all scouted out beforehand by my uncle, who was a priest. I didn't know what they thought they were doing, because I knew dough well at this time, and I knew it was all lies, filthy lies. So I just stopped eating. What happened now is considered a serious miscarriage of justice. In the deep repression that followed, which I hid as best I could because I knew that all they wanted was for me to be locked up in a lunatic asylum, in the months that followed, my lifelong love of poetry actually meant nothing to me. As Hamlet says, they were just words, words, words. But then I chanced on the American poet John Berryman, whom one of my teachers, the poet John Montague, was espousing. And this is one verse from a dream song, number 46. I am outside. Incredible panic rules. People are blowing and beating each other without mercy. Drinks are boiling. Iced drinks are boiling. The worst anyone feels, the worse treated he is. Fools elect fools. A harmless man at an intersection said under his breath, Christ. I felt that someone else had been in this desolate wasteland where I found myself. I learned a lot of his dream songs by heart, and 9 months after, I wrote what I think were my first real poems, as opposed to competent verse, the Moor poems, where having learned, among other things, how to use personae from Berryman, I used the folklore stories told locally about the sovereignty goddess Moor, in what I still feel were really my first poems, as opposed to competent verse. Then, of course, to cut off my nose to spite my face, I left Ireland in a fit of pique, vowing never to set foot again on its God-forsaken, priest-benighted sod. But after a while, I realised I was living in the wrong book. I was living in Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce, when the book I should have really been living in was Portrait of the Artist as a Young Woman, which was a different book entirely. So I set out to come back to Ireland and write that book in Irish and in poetry. My first book was published a year later. It's On Dalog Dryan, The Blackthorn Thorn. For me, my book was a thorn. It was witness to the great injustice that had been done to me. If I couldn't talk about it openly, then I could do what Emily Dickinson said, which was, tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Then we moved to Dublin, and I went to the Department of Folklore at the University of Dublin, and it became my source of inspiration. It still is. I'm afraid now I've spent a comparatively long time on the Word of Court and the ensuing fracas, but that was because until recently I actually thought that this was what had made a poet of me. Perhaps so. But when I was actually writing this speech, it suddenly dawned on me that the poetry comes from somewhere much deeper, much older. It comes eventually from the period when I was abandoned in West Kerry at the age of 5, in a house that I had never been in before, amongst people I had never seen before, except my cousin Betty, and I just liked her. There was the environment was nearly medieval. No electricity, no running water, no toilets, no hygienic facilities. The women went in the cowhouse. I don't know where the men went. In a language that I had a certain oral knowledge of, but I couldn't speak. In the evenings, my aunt lowered an Aladdin lamp from a long chain over the table, trimmed the wick carefully, then lit it and raised it up again on the chain. We went to bed with candles, stuck in sand in jamcrocks, in case they might overturn and catch fire. And always the cold, cold, cold. I was of the Gaeltacht, but not from the Gaeltacht. 6 months later, when my father collected me to bring me over to England for Christmas, we spent a night in his hospital apartment. The nun who was putting me to bed, to my total disgust, in a cot, spoke English. I supposedly turned to my father and said, "Why is this woman speaking to me in English? Isn't this Ireland?" It took me a good while to work out the whys and wherefores of English and Irish, and what do you speak to whom. Looking back on it all at a distance of 60 years, it strikes me now that you wouldn't do that to a cat or even a dog. Abandon a child with such alacrity, no, not unless you were forced to do so by war or starvation or some other enormous calamity. I think more than anything else that this was the formative event of my whole life, and that I clung to the language as the only interesting or satisfying thing in the environment. Though I didn't know it at the time, the language and the poetry of the language pulled me through, as poetry has done subsequently again and again in my life. It is my lifeline. Without it, I could not live. And therefore, the decision of the Honoured Committee to honour me with the Zbigniew Herbert Award is for me not only an enormous honour, but a ratification and justification of my life's work, writing, as I hope to do, the proof of the existence of a woman's emotional and intellectual existence in the 20th and 21st century in Irish and in poetry. In Ireland, I am mostly under the radar. Proof of this is when this prize was announced, I was contacted immediately by all the Irish language media, TG Ceathair, Radio na Gaeltacht, even BBC Radio Northern Ireland. I wasn't contacted by one single person from the English language media in Ireland. It wasn't even mentioned in the Irish Times until a few weeks later when the Irish language writer Alan Titley wrote an article in English about this fact, making the point that this was proof, if further proof were needed, that to this day literature in Ireland still means literature in English only. I hope I haven't bored you too much with all the history and personal history I've given you here, but I want above all to advertise the fact that by giving me this prize, you have honoured a long and often occluded literary tradition. This prize has not only helped me financially, but has given me the courage to continue Up and at it, for what I hope is my last hurrah. My health has been quite bad over the last year, and what with my husband's death 4 years ago, I was beginning to feel it was all over. Inspiration had fled. I was an old woman. It was time to be a fálam an bháis, learning death. You have thankfully proved me wrong. I thank you with all my heart. Go raibh míle, míle maith agaibh.
Congratulations. Thank you for what you've said. We'll now be listening to your poems. If you'll take a seat, this is a theater, so a bit of stage directions. The outstanding actress who couldn't make it, Maja Komorowska, said, let me read this poem, so we consented. This actress is Maja Komorowska, and the poem is Obad, translated by Jerzy Jarniewicz.
Dla świtu to wszystko jedno, na co dnieje. Na sroczą awanturę w liściach wysokich drzew, na zieloną kaczkę tego dandysa z mokradeł i jej stylowe glissando wśród trzcin, na kurkę wodną, której biała halka trzepocze ponad stawem, na poławiacza ostryg brodzącego pod odpływ. Dla słońca to wszystko jedno, nad czym wschodzi, nad oknami kamienic georgiańskich placów, nad nalotem hord pszczelich na ogrody przedmieścia, nad parami kochanków, którzy nim zrobią, to znowu unisono ziewają, nad rosą jak krople potu albo łzy na liliach i różach, nad nagością twoich ramion. Ale dla nas to nie wszystko jedno, że noc dobiega końca, że muszą nam wystarczyć dzisiejsze zdarzenia, że musimy schylić się, zebrać i posklejać te liche skorupy naszego tu życia, żeby nasze dzieci piły wodę z potłuczonych dzbanków, a nie z dłoni złożonych w miseczkę. To wcale nie wszystko jedno.
That was Obad, and now let's listen to Nola reading her poems.
Ceist na tangan. Cuirim mogochas snáv I mádín tangan, fé mar leag fan néanán I gliamháin, a bheith fitte fuirte de dhéilóga fellastrum is bitumin agus pic bheith cimilte le na háin. An san lega síos I meastan an ngealcach, is cuigeal na mana sí le taobh na haim, fiachant nad a ríis cá dúrthaigh an strathe. Fiachant dal a bhuis an bhórthaigh inín orin. O bad. Is cuma leis an bhaidin cad ar a ngeallann si. Na cáganna a bríonn sa gachran ins na críne leogacha. An mordal glas a snáb go tóstalach a meas na ngealcach ins na coirithe. Tháinín bán an chiircínis go gobanísas an ballpártaigh ri leoga siúl go cuaramach rán a bhóra. Is cuma leis an gríon cad ar a dhéiríonn si. Ar na tithe bricir in yoga dulgan in snittis geartha I gear nóga seorsacha, ar na sachi bech a golavú chun crech a dhéanamh ar gardíní brochfailte, ar lánú nóga fós a manfach I gúitiún, is fúna gúplála a géirí níosanta, ar groch a glisnarnach na jóra bhór ar liliana sa róisna, ar de ghuilne. Ach ní cumilín go bhfuil an ihe réir hart, is go gafar ghlacha le péra de cheolaigh an lá an jobhan tlí. Go gafar imeach is crumma síos sa ríist, is písí beag a brailsanta ar saoil ag lethúla chéile ar cuma éigen, gan gur féidir linn ar lenaí, is go ggóil as baulaí briste in nionad as a musa, ní cuma linne é. An crown. The hánig beanna lesa le Black & Decker, the jaar sí an nuas mo crown. Dana sa mónseach féchandirthe, fa de verb sí na braintí ceann ar cheann. Hánig mar chéire bhile tránóna, chnic sé an crown, hí an gubh deragar ní nach chúna dúirt sé. Canna nar stoppa sí nó cad is tóla, cad a cheapach sí dá bhaintse Black & Decker agus dul chunatí agus crown an súda bhuinis le a dhearra nuas sa gárdín. Hánig beanna lesa ar neis ar maidin. Vís fós a géim a bhric fást. Dír siarm cadúrt mar chéile, dúirt sa le cadúrt sé go núirt sé cad is tóla is cad a cheapach sí dá bhaag sé siúd Black & Decker agus dul chunatí agus crown an súda bhuinis le a dhearra a nuas sa gárdín. Oh, Ashisha, that's very interesting. Vi beim an very. Vi cling leis an ing. The laurshi anna hjún. Well, bin malasa per bisatele unta ha bonus hjún, het an torn asma valagus fe mar a jön laske kik no lekaters no bai hain, li an taim anúnia a stacharum a yin cho lagsan me, gur ba réigen vi ardú na méranum a san go ceann trí lá. Mar a bunan is an crown, a ganán slán. Fear. Buin diad do chudiadaigh ceann ar cheann, der rauser is de vest liantánach lia. Cuir do chud spiaclaí ar an gláir I necha le de hir is de hankisúr. Is siúl cúm trasna an ór lár ar yes, go bun na lepan chun go bhaid deis, mo hú le híine har an níomh doracha I tgnas har na mírúltaí is áileachtaí I chawl. Is nábí grud ná giris le man nacht, ná fírig dím cenchaí ná brustigart, teig nach lú a iad me bhíanaise de dhéanacht mo hú le líana ná iad a gúnaart. Éir atá cho fada as de dhéag, cho leham as de gólan is de hef, fange fiún firan ó bhachas go bare ungan, is de bhál ferraga cúmthar dá réir, ba cór go mórvito ó scór an tlua, go mrunfaí ort craibh is próga óir, ba cór go sniffitó I de dhealamh marmar, a seasavrom, it felt is uiradór. Dán de Velissa. Ma fástín fiún a rink I green na díthe, ribín I cheann is fáinní ór ar de bhéaranta. Ditse nach bhfuil fós ach a chuig nó a séad a bhlianta, tíalachim gach a bhfuil sa dáin, mín. An gearchach ein a léimta stoin na nide, an fellistrum a pecha in sa diag, an portán glas a siú a fíor scauk go nieta, is letsa iad le tuairt fénera in níon. Bheith an dab a sugra leis an madra alta, an níonán a gleachas leis an naharní, lítheach an leon síos leis an uam cairach, sa dáin úr nó a bhronhinhart mín. Bheith getaí an gárdín ar letha amach is go déanach, ní bheith cluite lastrach á aire ag Caribbean. Níor gága dílúr fige mar náprún íochtar, sa dáin úr nó a bhronhinhart mín. Sa inín bháin, se deirehú ó de bhharthaim, go merim ar lábhaid an dhealachas an ghrian, is go seasan lem chorpéin ar a gábhró an bhuilean, I mhuilte dé, chun ná melfi tú, mín. mo bhíle stór. I dús mo héil de bhealis mé drá móige trí mo bhuige, hiigis go mac a bhéad fhí mo cheanna chasa le trocht chuirtainna éal data, chola go sucar I gcuilteanna do clúh lachan, lábhíní do chricanéisc. An san de mís bordlinge churis mo bhíle sláán do chuine, churis suas le brianas le bara ó gach peamh, bhí trán go bhéatan mo cháir de chóirih bhéanta in láimh bháin ach bo chuma. Thugus bhfuid cuas an tail is duile se bhaile, tháinig do lún go dír mo leba. Chlúda is le milthú, is cnoc go raibh do gruig fach de lia is díreach. Fós imchuoiní tan dú bacalach, tá gá cho chandíag I de chúl buí cas. And now the last poem, which is for my inspiration, or cause of inspiration, which is the perfect reader, who maybe is a fiction of my imagination, but it doesn't matter. Tusa. Is tusa pehu hain, an fi rain, a húra clúis le héisteach beidir de bhaininte scéil, a thug na cosa léir éigen ó láthir an catha. Níor thugam mar féin an saoire linn ná an gíire. Níor chréilemar bordlinge go America nó a lorg arbhartún le chéile sléir be, ins na tíortha tó haar lear. Níor jaimar de bharn a gnach chapel láidir all in dubh. Níor léamar fé crown cairan is an ihe cor Krishna. Ní lún am mar a bhí tínta knáb is an airc á séidir hen da gréine. Adarin bhí an airige bhór atá brónach. Adarin bhí na cnic is na sléite, ná casan a chéile. Gur míle maith. And having spoken so much and tried to sing, but now you're going to hear a real singer. This is Eilish Nichnede, whose repertoire is the songs that I grew up with, the Áráin of Bhuair and the Moon, the great classical songs of Munster, and who is from my part of the world, from the Dingle Peninsula. And I found out recently that her husband and my brother were great conspirators in the days of their wasted youth down in Trinity College. And so I would love to have Eilish Nichnede come, and you will hear the type of song that I was talking about.
Thank you very much. I did bring my glasses just in case. I'm going to start with the song that you referenced a few moments ago, because I've been trying to sing outside and they told me they could hear me, so sorry about that. Fosen hu, gan vo gan fund, gan nord of spray, ach witten teil tolle wünschen, dom walade, duch, gan me agus tu, arun me klev, ugashomu, iskanda lavofun, ach an chlárfog déil. Siúl a chogir is dar an machir, go déim glawn, is jo tú foscar labol a chis. Agus go siawl, beg la shron ag dian of thorin. Fui ag a crown, beg an dove, in our vachir, san cher shacham. Shark mich lev, dogus fendir, agus grotrirum, da poche da choran teilagin, gomen feines tu. Kangol kleide behaderen ren, leschen von het stomachken en mora, egen naar joen boste goed. Gurmil Magav. I did learn a little phrase of Polish, but of course now I can't remember it now that you're all in front of me. The next song is a song which is a lament for a stately home, I suppose you could call that, or an estate called Kilchash, which is in County Tipperary, much beloved of Nuala. And unfortunately, the song is a lament for, I suppose, a way of life as well as the estate. And it's really, the first line of the song is Cad Yanamid festa gan aimad, tá dead in the guilt lore. What will we do without the forests or the wood, the woodlands? The end of the woodland is nigh. And it's not an eco-warriors song, really. It's talking about the Gaelic way of life. And it represents, I suppose, the cutting down of people's beliefs and their ways of life. And this particular estate was a refuge, I think, is that right, Nuala, for priests and poets and more during its lifetime in the mid-1600s, I suppose. The song itself is later, and it laments a time gone past. And the particular woman involved in the song, she was the lady of the house, and she was very sympathetic to the Catholic cause during penal times. So it's a song that I think everybody learned in school. That's what Nuala was mentioning a while ago. And if you are of a persuasion to sing along, don't be shy. I think a few of you in the front row might know it. Much to my shame, I did bring the words with me because there's quite a few of them. So it's called Kilchash. It's not quite as long as the introduction. Cadayan no mead fasta gan aimut, the dead in the gael der lore. Níl troch der Kilchash na tailach, sneaklin for klein gebroch. On la tuden la gonig an diven, for gradum is nair ar hoch. Wie heerlijk taring tar tainam, son aferen binara. Nichlinim huam lachen again, no filler gave kushkuan, no few no machachan said, ogos melagos cared than slow. Neil Kjol bin village nanen, lehour kan lay the loin, non huachin maran a graven, she chirachen selchen soen. Tokyo etitim berchreven, naglan legrein nula, das murig titim on spero, sakadish gagulerik dra. Nil kol, nil kulen akaram, akluchav smel chulchan, porkan organ chravan, is dimium gamer fan. An ishmar var glak miram, hoik prums an angel har sol, an le haner na mine, for gradam so rank so spawn. An ishtawa kualach dakine, jai chare gut buiagus spawn. She not ogach shalav lanine, she karat no vir vachtan. Akimer murasalisa, godag shirish kun islan, go me grinky fada gwal timple, kjol fiddle is tindach knive, godog for an balashar shincher, kil chashbra rish gohard, is go brochen nu got the gigam dile, no fek for risher lor. This next song is related to that one. Same time period, but this is about a particular person as opposed to a place. And again, it should be something. There was a songbook, wasn't there? No, that Auron Laur Ogre Asian, because the story of the Haran, and a lot of the songs were in that. And there's many verses in this song, but my grandmother always told us that 3 verses was enough in any song. I don't know if she was right or not, but this is about a man called Sean O'Deed, and he would have fought in his uncle's, I guess, unit during the time of the Cromwellian Wars. And again, it's a lament for a time gone past, and for, I suppose, a brave man called Sean O'Dear, John Dwyer of the Glen. And I presume the Glen is the Glen of Aherlow, which is a beautiful part of Ireland. It's not Kerry, but it is beautiful. Mairi gong maiden, Kien taura tanov, Hual no le caso, Cos kjol bin manen, Brykes mil dagara, Kraur long of a father, Fuan megan makala, Cos lauch gon itchen, Shanach luro an garig, Bile luig markig, Is bangoduch som melach, Egar
could gay. Is an ishton yara, she'll meet our color. Is a yoni reading gilano, tom to gangem. Is a shin wagles father, scum close a hero, on red wake them la, cause bossins and spade, my in sword ga kangle, gan cadluan a sticht, a winner grand on lano, in yon yillen lay. Green on washled and lagarig, go cover hook banoir, au coursoir serratin, go lo didn't they? Stein, sjöswein ist tamel, oine washled of alle, do yellen heiner galev, is dogen an skleep.
Thank you very much. I'm going to play a tune for you now. It wasn't originally in the plan, but it became part of the plan today. This may have been a good idea or a bad idea, so I need to fetch my flute. This is a tune called Our on the Lour, the Song of the Books. And it's about a boatload of books that unfortunately fell into the sea. They were belonged to a poet. And obviously they were very precious. So I need to make a little bit of noise first. Excuse me. Thank you. Slánta. It's just water, don't worry. I was making a joke earlier on, but... So the next song is a love song. It's a lovely song. Many of the love songs, I'm sure Nuala has explained to you, were patriotic songs. But this one is a genuine, I think, love song called Jimmy Mavilas Thor. And it's just one of my favourite songs, actually, so I'm delighted that Nuala loves it as well. And if you're called Jimmy, it's for you. Blian an da shot me go I'm room my slave ni o kshevale godur shekur sandel no ara here they red left when of than hoid agus cludo lemele Jimmy Mavilas Thor Bien avoides my eg barras eg brin lam fein Tom eg yopa pioca kiepa kratem Augustan of the menud, the benus the ballast snow. Agus chuashed wardling, she Jimmy Mavilas Thor. Right so chana cuide agus cadam an chuide adam well. Sanat na begene eg ishtach lekion lanen. Favan chrin Eg tu tanov dan lenud she Jimmy Mavilas Thor Oh, you're looking at nice pictures. I'm glad. The next one is also a song that very much is associated with West Kerry, called In Níon an Eat an Lawn. And the woman in the song is the object of the man's affections. And her father's name was Mr. White. So In Níon an Eat, it means Mr. White's daughter from the Glen. And she really is a beautiful woman. And he's praising her so much in all the verses, as you would do in a love song. Shulach speak washacht, ganski gans dat gan forum. Dan jarit auregan, is memaren shul. Moravai midrar ker chwante, kyo livin lis Baltimora, Isarian och robran
shalom den Shake och barton orna Maris buchel oga kroch me Is to me wem mograum Nibio me mi lora Maravai megan is growed Agus fóil te chuin od charde Anion an it on lawn Vis a lobraerach Im wir grimont leva mo Shad a chwalan lons an chersach Eg shemen tosem hiwn O is das marisch green viersa Nis te shem o maralein Dalid vol fennig Anion on it on lawn Vis a lobraerach No glosach shalom venig She is like lound Is our art much later wake Storm me mishkan a chere Ego lenur laselan Molov arkeo mahiatark Stavria kani hansuan Margot. We'll do another love song. This one is called Maureen Debarra. There's not that many. Most of the love songs, I guess, are written from one point of view. This one is a love song called Maureen Debarra and or Little Mary Barry, as some of the old songbooks describe it. Again, I think the words of this song are probably the most beautiful of all the love songs. It's so genuine, and it could have been written in any age, and I suppose that's the beauty of those Sean-Nós songs. So, as I said, if you're deeply in love with somebody, you might, at the moment, think about them. That's what I'm doing anyway. Avorinda Is the gesprochen of mij in alles dan winter. Hermelige mermelava, sort of ima queen of. Said I maar de geluk toen krienen. De gas is de gas om krienen. Staveli mavina non dritten weit alauren is even on the love a shulen to faded is even the love nor a heinen to our son is even the love nor a lean to fear through even the vow I to the Hulon is the Hulon is the Hulon salad the ranger salad gang off in Spreeland more winter is more go broch the regen is go leis almost me ach gur lat fein me the healers to of allo labiaros lepogo the healers to of allo la laures l'amore the ever I'll call none. Ach doch du wachtel auf mig, achton lien Avorin glachm chorle Slow shoulder to her tailas Schachen and strun shade Far shade and airken Gavlesh an Allein shadow flyner Poseidon Oses taled winter Thank you. Thank you.
Elish Kennedy, thank you very much, and let's enjoy this meeting, let's enjoy this lovely evening, let's relish the presence of Elish and Nuala, and let's Join us in the lobby where you will be able to buy books by Nuala. We have her publisher and she'll be signing autographs, I'm told. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye.